After numerous failed attempts to delay her incarceration, Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos, is scheduled to report to federal prison this week. Holmes, who was sentenced to over 11 years in prison and ordered to pay $452 million in restitution, along with her former business partner Sunny Balwani, defrauded numerous high-profile investors through their blood testing startup. The financial burden on Holmes is substantial, considering she claimed to lack sufficient funds to pay her legal fees. In the U.S. federal court system, convicted offenders are often required to pay restitution to compensate victims for financial losses resulting from the crime, including lost income, property damage, and medical expenses. Dear viewers, Slant News TV is currently engaged in an ardent pursuit of achieving its inaugural milestone of 1,000 subscribers. We earnestly implore your wholehearted support by subscribing to our channel. In Holmes' case, she has been ordered to repay some of the wealthiest families in America. Despite dropping out of Stanford University, she managed to secure investments for Theranos from notable figures, such as former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and the Walton family, founders of Walmart. However, when the faulty nature of her blood testing technology was exposed, many investors suffered significant financial losses. Holmes has been instructed to pay back media mogul Rupert Murdoch $125 million, and former Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos $100 million. Nonetheless, experts caution that restitution in the US has become largely symbolic, meaning victims are unlikely to recover most of the money owed to them. According to Ryan O'Neill, a former federal prosecutor, very few individuals can afford to pay the full amount of criminal restitution, except for cases like Bernie Madoff's, making the prescribed restitution amount somewhat unrealistic. Despite the challenges, Holmes will still be expected to make efforts to pay back her victims, and prosecutors have likely already begun seizing her assets, including bank accounts and properties. Disputes may arise as authorities compare the actual value of her possessions to what she claims to own. Even during her time behind bars, Holmes' financial obligations will persist. She has been recommended to report to the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, where inmates are required to work and earn between 12 cents and $1.15 per hour. Approximately half of the meager earnings, typically around $25 every 4 months, will be allocated to her victims. After serving her prison sentence, Holmes will still face limitations on purchasing significant assets, such as a home, without intervention from the federal government. However, assets solely owned by her husband, William Evans, a hotel heir, cannot be seized by the government. Holmes herself has acknowledged her bleak financial future, stating in an interview with the New York Times that she will have to work for the rest of my life, just to cover her exorbitant legal fees. Unfortunately, there are several reasons why her victims and other individuals are unlikely to recover their money. Criminal defendants lack incentives to amass significant wealth again since they know that the money will be allocated towards restitution. Some individuals may attempt to conceal their assets, using legal measures like trusts to avoid asset seizures. As wealth increases, it becomes easier to employ legal mechanisms that shield one's riches. The case of conspiracy theorist Alex Jones serves as an example. Jones, who has been ordered to pay nearly $1.5 billion to the families of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims for propagating falsehoods about the massacre, has been accused of diverting funds to friends and family to hide his assets. Although prosecutors closely monitor his actions, the less affluent Sandy Hook families are unlikely to receive substantial amounts from Jones, as he is expected to allocate most of his funds to his legal defense. In lower-profile cases, the U.S. government lacks the resources and time to investigate every defendant's assets thoroughly, sometimes placing the burden on victims to track the defendant's financial maneuvers. However, due to the high-profile nature of Holmes' fraud and her recent financial decisions, such as living in an expensive Silicon Valley estate costing $13,000 per month, former Theranos investors are more likely to remain vigilant and press the prosecutors to ensure they recover their money. Experts suggest that these investors will continue to monitor Holmes closely, as they believe she will not be able to accumulate any funds in her bank account without the government seizing them. In summary, Elizabeth Holmes, the disgraced founder of Theranos, is facing a substantial prison sentence and a hefty restitution bill for defrauding high-profile investors. While she has been ordered to repay millions of dollars to her victims, the chances of them recovering the full amount are slim. Restitution in the US is often symbolic, and very few individuals can afford to pay the prescribed amounts in full. Holmes will be closely watched by both her victims and authorities, with assets being seized to fulfill her financial obligations. Even after her prison term, she will face restrictions on major asset purchases. While the path to restitution is challenging, her victims, along with others affected by fraud, will continue to pursue their claims and keep a close eye on Holmes to ensure justice is served. Here concludes the latest news bulletin. You can find detailed articles from reputable global news sources in the description below for further examination and verification of the news.